We continue with the sixth chapter of the book of Zechariah. Zechariah, think of his name, the one whose time God remembered. And here we have, in a sense, we understand that the first half of the book is sort of up to chapter 6, and from chapter 7 is the second part of the book. And so we continue here with his visions. Va'ashuv ve'eseh einai ve'ereh v'hinei arba markavot yotzot mibein shnei ha'arim ve'harim harei nechoshet. I looked up again and I saw 4 chariots that were coming between 2 mountains, and these mountains were made of copper. B'merkava harishona susim adumim u'v'merkava hashenit susim shechorim. The horses on the first chariot were bay, were sort of ruddy, and the second chariots, the horses were black. U'v'merkava shlishit susim livanim u'v'merkava revit susim berudim amutzim. So the third were white, and the fourth were spotted. His first vision, some chapters back, was also about 4 horses with 1 man on top of the horse. And here we come back to these horses again. For those who see it as a chiastic structure, it starts with the horses, it's an envelope, it ends with the horses. But we see here another vision. Va'an, we're in verse 4, Va'omar alamalach hadovervi ma ele adoni. And I spoke up and I asked the angel who spoke with me, and I said, what are those, my master, my lord? Vayan amalach, vayomer, Eli, Ela arba ruchot hashamayim yotzot mehit yatsev aladon kol haaretz. He said, these are the 4 winds of heaven coming out after presenting themselves to the God of earth. So God is there, and God, the angels or something, the winds, exactly what it means, come to speak to God, and then they leave to presumably to do God's bidding. And of course, in these chapters, we've had a lot of movement, right? Yesterday was about taking the evil. In the previous chapter, taking the evil out of Jerusalem with the woman in the tub with the copper lid on it, and the women with the big wings who flew her out of there. Okay, and so here too, this is God's. There's a lot of movement of God and God's messengers all over the world. Let's go to verse 6. Asher ba susim ashkorim yotzot el eretz safon, va'lavanim yatsu el acharehem, va'brudim yatsu el eretz hateman. The one with the black horses is going to the north. The white ones have gone out to the west. The spotted ones have gone to the south. Va'mutzim yatsu vivakshu lalechet litlahech ba'aretz va'amru lechu italchu ba'aretz v'talachnu ba'aretz. And the spotted ones, they were ready to go out. And then they were given the command, right? Stay here in the earth, whether that means, on the earth generally, or whether it means, in the land of Israel is difficult to understand exactly what it means. But all of these visions and prophecies are difficult to remember, to understand what it means. But at its core, maybe are these horses that are going out, are they going to, like in yesterday's chapter when they went to the north, when we asked this question, are they going out to, the evil was taken out, are they going to go and to punish the Babylonians and the others who destroyed the Beit HaMikdash and tortured Bnei Yisrael? Are they being sent out to warn, challenge, charge the majority of Bnei Yisrael who did not return at this time to the land of Israel? As we said, it's only about, in the book of Ezra, about 50,000, including servants who return. I think the number is about 42,000. And so it's not clear exactly what these horses mean. There are those who try to give an explanation, right? His name is Zechariah. Zechariah, God has remembered you, and God's messengers are going out everywhere to remember you. They're going out all over. We haven't forgotten you. And so there are different ways of trying to understand what's going on here. And just as Zechariah says, what is this? That's what we continue to ask. Continue in verse 8. Vayazek oti vaydaber elai lemor re'eh hayotzim el eretz safon heinichu et ruchi be'eretz safon. And he said to me, take good note. Those ones that went out to the north have done my bidding in the north. Now, the north again is presumably to Bavel, the Jews who were left there, and those were the black horses. What's the significance of the black horses? Not clear what the significance of the black horses are, what the color black means. Does it mean darkness? Does it mean privation? Does it mean, those sort of things? And that's what it means that they're going out north, whether, again, it's to those Bnei Israel haven't come back, or whether it's to the Babylonians, it's unclear. But here we have, in a sense, the last vision. And the visions of Zechariah obviously or the first half of the book, the visions are difficult to understand. They're visions that are very sort of majestic and far-reaching. And at least I saw something that Rav Adin Steinsaltz wrote, and I don't know if he came up with it on his own, but he says that if we think about it, there was a very small number of people, as we just mentioned, who returned back for the building of the second Beit HaMikdash. It was a small, meager group of Jews. We saw in the book of Haggai that they were poor. They didn't think they could rebuild the temple because they didn't have the means for it. They didn't have the financial capabilities to do so. And Haggai said, just do it. And here Zechariah is giving them these visions in the same way that Haggai gave them some of these visions about some greatness that's going to happen, to not be dissuaded and not to be scared and not to be fearful because what you're building is so small, that something great will come with it. And with that is really gets to the second half of the chapter. So continuing in verse 9, so here it's not just a vision. Now God is once again appearing to Zechariah. We don't know when this is, but obviously it's some point at this time. The Beit HaMikdash, we know, is already in the process of being built. So maybe it's the year 520, maybe it's year 519, maybe it's year 518. And he's told, Lakoach me'et hagola, me'cheldei u'me'et tovya u'me'et yidaya uvata ata bayom ahu uvata beit Yoshia ben Sefania asher ba'u me'bavel. Says, go get people from the exile community from Babylon, from Babylon, Cheldai and Tovia and Yediah, right? Go get them and go to the house of Yoshia, the son of Zephaniah. So is this somebody's from, Zephaniah, the prophet Zephaniah that we saw, descendant of his? As we've said many times in these books, it's very difficult to understand who they are. But gather some of these Jews together who came back with you from the exile. Okay. V'lakachta kesef v'zahav v'asita atarot, and get gold and silver and make crowns. V'samta barosh Yehoshua ben Yehotzadak hakohen hagadol, and place these crowns on the head of Yehoshua. So we have a crown of silver, a crown of gold. You're placing them on the head of the Kohen Gadol, the person who, of course, is going to lead the service, the worship in the temple. V'amarta elav le'mor, ko amar Adonai tzvot le'mor, hine ish tzemach shmo mitachtav yitzmach uvana techal Adonai. And say to him, there's going to be a branch that's going to rise up. Ben was saying yesterday, the root vegetable, right? It's going to rise up from below, and it will, right? It's going to branch out, and this tzemach, will build the temple of God. So is this maybe an earlier vision, an earlier prophecy? Maybe Yehoshua has come back. Maybe Zerubbabel has not come back yet. Why is the crown not being placed straight on Zerubbabel? Why are they being both placed on Yehoshua? Not clear. We're in verse 13. He will build the temple. He will be, royal, regal, majestic, a leader. He will sit on the throne and rule, and there will also be a priest on his throne, not his throne being on Zerubbabel's throne or Tzemach's throne, but rather in terms of the if you want to call it, the throne of priesthood, of kahuna, and harmony will prevail between the two of them, between these two different, what could be competing leadership's positions, the position of the high priest and the position of the king. We'll see later, well, we won't see, but later in the late in the Second Temple period, there's a fight between different groups, between more the rabbis and the priests, and the rabbis representing not just the sort of the rabbinic leadership, but also in many ways a political leadership. So it's not always so clear that there is harmony between these two different, we'll call them branches of government. And was there a lack of harmony at this point, that that Zechariah has to tell Yoshua that there will be harmony. That seems to be the implication of what's being said here. So is this tzemach Zerubbabel? It appears this way. Is this tzemach somebody else who we do not mention yet? Seems most likely it's referring to Zerubbabel. And I'm sure if we were the Maccabim, who would be looking at this book, and we've talked about in these books, in the 24th day of the month of Kislev, now they take over on the 25th, they might see it as a representation of themselves, because they were Kohanim, the Chashmonaim, and they also assumed the throne. So in a sense, they put those two crowns together on their heads, and that may be the way that they saw themselves. Okay. V'hatarot tieh lechelem uletuvya ulidaya ulechein ben Sefanya lezikaron beichal Adonai. The crowns will remain in the temple of God as a memorial to Chelem, Tovia, Yedidya, and Chain, son of Tzephonia. So they're going to remain them because these people donated the crowns, they made the crowns, whatever it is, to show thanks to them. They're the donors with the big plaques thanking them. So they'll remain, and by having them remain in the temple, are they just there to thank those who donated the funds? Is it also supposed to be aspirational? Let the king, when he comes to the temple, let him look at that crown and know what he is or what he can achieve. Let the same thing, the Kohen Gadol, you are wearing these crowns. These crowns are symbolic of you. You're like the crown jewel of Bnei Israel. You need to serve them. You need to serve God properly. There are different ways of viewing this. And now we continue to verse 15, the last verse. And here we go to a slightly different place. We're talking about Yerushalayim. Yes, the horses went out far away, but we're talking about being in Yerushalayim. We're talking about the crowns. We're talking about what's going to happen with the building of the Beit HaMikdash. And then maybe this is a vision that's further in the future. Maybe it's a vision that if the crowns are properly, Bnei Israel properly does their job, then the following will happen. Urichokim yavau uvanu beichal Adonai vidatem ki Adonai tzvot shalachani alechem v'hayam shamoa tishmu b'kol Adonai Elohechem. People from far away will come and take part in the building of the temple of God, and then you will know that I have been sent to you by God, that it's Zechariah saying I've been sent to you. And this will happen based upon one thing. There's one condition: if you obey the words of God, if you listen to God's verse, Im Shamoah Tishmu, right back, sounds like second paragraph of Shema. So is this, in a sense, this last verse, we can also take back to this idea of needing to give the people some chizuk, needing to give them some strength, because the temple is small, the temple's not grand. The temple from Shlomo was built, it was right, he had all of these diplomatic treaties with other nations, most significantly with the king of Tyre, all the cedars of Lebanon. And look at this little nothing that we've built. Just know, things will change. The temple will be grand, the temple will be great, there will be crowns, it will be kingdom, it will be autonomy. People from afar will come into Israel in the same way that they came during the days of Shlomo, maybe not to hear the wisdom of Zechariah or the wisdom of Yoshua or the wisdom of Zerubbabel, but the vision here is, the hope here from these prophets is that this is not just a small thing. This is just the first stage in the development of the second temple. This is just the building of it. Just do it. This is floor one. And there are many, many floors to build. There's a lot of greatness that's going to come, which is implied as well from the word semach, a branch. This is not the completed thing. It's branching, it's growing, and it will continue to grow. That was the hope of Haggai, the hope of Zerubbabel. As we mentioned a number of times, not something that occurs, but the Maccabim believed perhaps that they were the ones through whom these prophecies came true.